Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I am so excited for my guest today. We actually got to meet a little bit, a couple of weeks ago, actually at an event that I put myself in the room and attended. I was a little scared. I didn't know anybody but one person, but you got to sometimes put yourself in the room because you'll never know who you meet, and the world of possibilities is there. You just got to take the first step, which is to take action. So my guest today is LC Peterson. She is a relationship specialist who helps people create healthier, stronger relationships with their partners, adult children, and families. She's earned her BA in communications from Cal State University, Domingo Hills in 2002. And she spent 15 years as a broadcast journalist who has worked for local stations with ABC, NBC, and Fox, before being inspired to pursue a new path as a substance abuse counselor. She has recently decided to begin her independent relationship practice, stating, "I've seen how many parents, adult children, and families quietly struggle with strained or even broken relationships, often believing that there's no way forward when in reality, healing and change are possible." So thank you, Elsie, for being my guest today.
Thank you, Angelina, for the invite.
Oh, no problem. What I love about you is you are just going out there like 2026. You are like, I am going to start this journey of entrepreneurship because you feel that there is a need. And so I just would love to know, like, you used to be a broadcasting journalist, you're like in communications, and then you went into substance abuse counselor, and now you're like, I just need to help people build their relationships. So kind of take us back on how you got to where you are today.
Okay, well, honestly, I think my entire life I have been this person, but it's just been refining, developing. So I can remember at a very young age just loving to hear people's stories and hearing, what they're going through. And so I think that drove my reporting passion, because reporting is really just talking to people, hearing their story, and then telling the story, on television. So I did that for 15 years. It was super exciting, loved it. This was all in the Midwest. And then I'm originally from California. So when I made my way back here, I did a little bit of marketing because I did get out of the business. But then when COVID hit, I kind of accidentally got into the behavioral health substance abuse industry, but I absolutely loved it. because again, there's, coming from a family where I'm an adult child of a father who is an alcoholic. He has since passed away, may he rest in peace. But I know all of the damage and pain and trauma that comes when a parent is not the best that they should have been. And so again, there's like a lot of personal connection for me. And so and I just fell in love with it. I stayed it. I got credentialed. And so then as I was counseling for 2026, I just realized, LC, you're always going to be nervous and scared about doing this, going out, venturing, doing something entrepreneurial. Because I've always joked and said, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I just want to clock in, clock out, But this is different because I'm so passionate about it. I was willing to do this. So when the idea came, the seed was planted, I got excited and I said, you know what? You're old enough to know that you just got to go for it. Even if you don't know all of the steps exactly, you got to do your research, right? You got to do your, do your due diligence, as you say, but you're going to also learn as you go. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So here I am. I started, what I would call my independent, practice. I have to be careful with certain wording. So just a disclaimer, services that I mention here are educational, not psychotherapy. California is really strict about that kind of stuff. So I just want to make sure that that I mention that. So again, I just want to help people with relationships, all kinds, family first aid, parent, couples, people who have been betrayed by their partners. There's people who have major dating dilemmas. The dating world is just crazy. And also parent and adult children. A lot of enabling going on these days. And so I really do specialize in so different dynamics. And so, yeah, I just love what I do.
What I think that you're doing is so important. And I love how you said, like, you got to just, you're always going to be nervous. You're always going to be scared. And I will tell you, I've been doing podcasting for almost 2 years now. And I've had over 140 episodes recorded. I still get nervous every time I'm about to get on, right? But I think that what is important is if we still, even though we get nervous, we still go out there and do it because God has put a calling on us and we are out, and it's our due diligence to take care of what the gift that He has given us, right?
Yes.
What I love about what you do is that you help families with even adult children. And I will tell you, I have adult children and it is hard. The things that you think, and then you hear these things that maybe you made mistakes as a parent, or like you're going through your own healing journey, which is something that I've been dealing with, going through my healing journey. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that something that I did that happened to me as a child triggered me to be a different type of parent, or maybe too easy or lenient on my children, or maybe too harsh in other areas. And it's like, oh my gosh, did I ruin my children? And then so kind of tell us about like the people, how you decided to work with adult children and helping them with their family relationship.
Okay, so one of the things that I see often is that as parents, we're not the same today as we were 10, 20 years ago. And so we made a lot of mistakes. And so what I would notice is even as the parent evolved and became a better individual, that adult child still had maybe some resentment, and even though you're a new person today and you kind of, there's that feeling of, well, I did the best I could. Maybe you were a single mom, or maybe you had anger issues, or maybe, your children were raised in a very toxic environment, and then you got out of it and you got better. And so what I really love doing, because, I do get results, is that adult child, even though you're communicating with them and you can be in the same room, that bond is it's not fully what it should be. And it. Because that adult child, still has some unresolved hurt, pain. And so I knew that when working with adult kids and parents, and it's a very tricky thing because both of them trigger each other, it's like there's a lot going on. But once you really open up that communication and you create that space of hearing both sides and really allowing, because chances are that adult child probably has some merit. You know what I mean? Like they do. So allowing that space for that parent and that child to really communicate, heal, what can come out of that is so powerful, and it's generational. And, the Bible talks about this, and I love that you're a believer because we can talk like this. It's like, because that adult child, it's like you want them to heal. Otherwise, that could get passed down unintentionally, to the grandkids or the kids. So that's kind of, again, there's so many families out there who are kind of just on the surface cordial to each other, but there's a lot of pain going on. Now, granted, I do family first aid too. There's a lot of families out there who are really in a bad spot, like they can't even be in the same room. So again, it's a range of pain and hurts and resentment going on within a family unit that really just affects that whole family. So I'm very passionate about families just in general.
I love that. I love that. I think that's so much needed because I see it all the time where, children stop talking to their parents once they become adults. Just recently, I know a particular family where the mom didn't hear from her son for 15 years, and just the different things. But healing is possible, and healing can happen. You just have to get both people to want to do it as well, right?
Absolutely. And I hear this a lot where, well, you know what, LC, my mom and dad, they're never going to apologize. They don't even want to acknowledge what they've done. And so, if you're a parent and you're listening to this, I have to say that is something that happens often, and it's not a good thing. And it's not easy, but as a parent, you have to be able to get to a place where you acknowledge what you've done and be able to actually apologize for it. So that's something that I help parents with, because again, I hear a lot of adult kids, they really are in situations where their parents either really don't want to remember the past or they don't want to acknowledge it. And that prevents that adult child sometimes from moving on. It's an obstacle. It doesn't mean that you can't move on, right? If your parent does it, but it does help the adult child if the parent can acknowledge what they've done.
Awesome. I understand that. Completely. So you have been dealing, this is something that God has called you to do, and you feel very passionate about it. And I would just love to know, how do you help people to do this? Do you do it virtually, in person? Kind of tell us about how you work with these families.
So I do it online. I do online support sessions, but I also offer in-person sessions to keep the cost down, because, I don't accept insurance. I just take cash. To keep the cost down, I've omitted the office overhead. So we can meet, I can do, house calls. Of course, everybody has to be vetted, make sure everybody's safe, or even some people feel comfortable just meeting outside in nature in a quiet spot, So I try to, during the free phone consultation, I kind of get a feel for, what would make that person feel safe. So, and if it's a parent and an adult child, or if it's a couple, a betrayed partner, or even just a couple that's dealing with, issues in their relationship, I require that I meet with each person at least once first. And then I meet them together, because it's very critical for me to get a good sense of what each person is, what their perspective is of the situation. And I need them to be able to be fully honest. And sometimes when you meet people for the first time together, they're reluctant to truly share what's really going on. And so that's one of the things that I really focus on, is making sure that I meet with each person, the parent first. And if the adult child has agreed to do it, or vice versa, then I meet with them first separately and then together. And then we start working really on getting down to business, because it is work and it's painful. Emotionally, it is painful, but it's worth it. On the other side is a better connection, a stronger bond. The communication lines are open. You're not triggering each other as much, and so again, and it does take time, but it's possible.
I love that you shared that. And I you also reminded me that you also work with couples. And so as you work with couples, do you see that a lot of times both the couples are willing to work with you, or is it like one is willing to and the other one is reluctant? I would just love to know, because it seems like sometimes it's really hard when a couple is at the point where they need this, which I think every couple needs relationship specialist in their lives, because it's the same thing as the children, you talked about earlier, is as a parent evolves as couples, the longer you're with each other, you change a little bit and you evolve, and, the passion changes a little bit. So how does that, like, most of the time, is it just one person coming to you, or do they come to you together? And I love how you do it separately, just to also get a feel for it.
I usually hear from the partner that is hurting the most. That's usually the person that reaches out initially. And after I have, a good feel for what's going on, if the partner is willing to come in, then absolutely, then I meet with the partner. Um, Oftentimes the partner that the secondary partner, right, that's coming in, they, I do find that until they feel safe with me, like, you know what, this is a
Mhm.
person that can be, you know, objective,
Mhm.
and not lean toward one way. And really, because my goal is not to say to partner B, why are you doing that? Don't you see what you're doing to to your spouse? My goal is to really understand both partners, and be able to get them to a better place. Because again, if let's say if the let's just say if the wife is hurting because it's just, I don't feel connected to him, he's just not, he's not present like he used to be. It's like we're in the same room but we feel nothing. I hear a lot of, it's like we're roommates. um those are really dangerous red flags because we know where that can lead. And so one of the things is, I love it when couples come to me before there it's over. It's like I'd rather work with them at, as they're experiencing these issues, and just pull out those weeds, pull them out. It's like if your relationship is not going to get better by accident, it's like
Mhm.
you really have to invest in it. So it depends. Sometimes I have couples, that do come, and they, for the most part though, I think I do have, that is my passion, helping people feel comfortable, feel safe, so they can be honest with me, even the men, like what's really going on, and so then that way we work together as a team. Again, the goal is to really ignite that relationship again, get it on the right path. Again, it won't, it's not like a switch that goes on, but
Mhm.
it can happen, is little by little, as long as both, it's important what you mentioned. I think you said both partners, right, have to be
Mhm.
willing. And that
Mhm.
is very important. And I'm a good, I'm a good judge of character. I can pretty quickly gauge if that willingness is coming from both, or
Mhm.
if it's not.
And so, as take on your clients, you go and make sure that you can talk to both of them. Like, you talk separately to, like, if let's say it's a couple, you talk separately to the husband, separately to the wife, and then you decide if you can work together with both of them. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I will be honest. And I'm going to be blunt. Let's say I talk to them individually and I find out that one of them discloses to me that there is an affair going on. But then at that point, I will not continue the sessions, because in order for me to truly get results, both partners have to, at the very least, be honest and be
Mhm.
willing. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that would be one of the I guess, boundaries that, once that's identified. Because if someone again is actively having an affair and they do not want to let go of the affair, it's almost impossible to save, to assist.
Mhm.
It really is. But yeah, I meet with them individually. It's more so, not so much to gauge whether or not I'll work with them, it's more about me getting a better sense of what really is going on with them individually. What is their perspective of the relationship? What is their individual issues, problems, with the relationship? So then I can now have a middle ground so that we can then move forward. Because if I only meet with partner number one and then bring in the second one, I want to hear from the second one. Because there's issues. Partner number two, I don't want to be sexist, but let's say the husband. Yeah, okay, he's not being a great husband, but that doesn't disqualify his concerns. of what's going on in the relationship. So yes, it's very important that I meet with one of them, with both individually first, and then we can continue.
And have you ever got to the point where you're like, somebody comes to you and you're working with them, or they want your services, but the other, whether it's the other's adult partner, or even like the adult children, or even the adult parent doesn't want to work with you, can you still help that one person with the?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, a person's growth it's not associated. It doesn't have to be attached to someone else doing something. It's like, this is your journey. It would be ideal if the adult child says, you know what, yeah, I'll work with you, mom, dad, there is issues going on. Or if spouse says, you know what, yeah, I'll be part of this. That's ideal. But no, if a partner or an adult child or a parent, let's say an adult child comes to me and the parent doesn't want to do the sessions, that's okay. It's like, I know it hurts, but it is possible for you still to have growth. And oftentimes what I see is when you work on yourself and then that spouse kind of gets a little glimpse of, something's different here. Maybe initially they may not want to join in on the sessions, but over time they may change their mind. And that often happens, especially when I'm working with parents, and then the adult child later on agrees to come on board.
Very interesting. I think it's fascinating because, in the world where, there's a lot of things that are put at play, like social media can tell you how you're supposed to feel. Like everybody's judging you all the time, right? It seems like at times. And so it's just to get away from that and realize that you just need to go and see if there's something that's broken or not, a relationship doesn't feel right, then to seek out a relationship specialist to help them guide you, like in what your services help you guide you to what needs to be healed so that you can start having those honest conversations with each other.
Is your business constantly busy, but still inefficient? If your team is working hard but things keep falling through the cracks, it's not a people problem, it's a process problem. This is where Refined Consulting comes in. I help businesses simplify operations and build systems that actually work. Here's how I do it, in just a few days. First, we get clarity. We identify where your time, energy, and money are being wasted. Then, we map your process, step by step, so you can actually see what's happening. Next, we simplify. We cut out delays, redundancies, and anything that's slowing you down. Then we build a system your team can follow, so everything doesn't depend on you. And finally, we implement, so you walk away with a clear plan and real results. No more guessing, no more chaos, just better systems. If you're ready to streamline your business and get your time back, go to refineconsultingllc.com and book your free discovery call. Let's refine your processes and help you shine.
Absolutely. Angelina, the way I see it is we invest so much money in so many different things. And when you really think about it, sometimes we spend money on things that aren't even, they're silly. They really are. And this is why I'm so passionate about relationships, because what could be more valuable than your relationships? Mm-hmm. Nothing is more valuable than that, right? And so, and if you can invest in that, I think the reward is just, and I'm speaking from experience. I will say this, I want to protect, of course, the people in my life, but every single dynamic that I help, whether it's family first aid, dating dilemma, parent reset, couples, even betrayal, every single, dynamic, I'm not only bringing to the table to work with you and giving you realistic ways to move forward, but I'm also speaking from experience. And I can tell you that nothing has been more gratifying. I'll give you an example. My older daughter, she really, I thought she hated my guts. That was my perspective because of all the pain I had caused her. Her perspective is she thought I hated hers. She felt unloved. And when we were able to get to a place, like right now we have a mother-daughter relationship that I could have only dreamt of. And that wasn't the case. It wasn't easy. We both had to do some work, but I can tell you that the reward is worth it. It's like now, I mean, she's my, she's precious to me. She's, I always felt that distance, and she felt it too. There was a disconnect, a wall, a barrier. And, and now, I mean, it's just, this is what drives me. It's like, I want other people to experience the breakthroughs that are possible in their relationships, but they have to be intentional. And so that's why I'm here.
I think that's so important. I think it's such a need out there. And, when you talked about people, what we spend our money on, I've shared this before in one of the podcasts, and I had a guest on, and it's like, if you want to see what you care about, look at your credit card statements, right? What do you spend money on? The Starbucks, the going out to eat, the doing all the things, but it's really like the time. And I'm a time management specialist, and I help people get that time back, because what we spend, like, I'm not saying going out to eat is bad, but if you're spending like 20,000 going out to eat, and you're just sitting there at the table and you're on your phone instead of talking to your family or your date or whatever, there's something to think about. Yeah. And spending and investing into a quality of life, and spending money on things that are going to help you, because when we are not healed, or we have all of these different things, pain in our relationship, pain with either family members, friends, people that have hurt us, and we are dealing with that, it shows up in your body. It shows up in, stress and emotional pain, all of the things. And so once we get healed, and healing it's not just once we're healed, we're done. Like, there's going to be constant things and needs to heal. You're going to find that you are going to have a more vibrant life. You're going to feel a lot better. And I think that what the important thing is just look at what you spend money on, and can you really go ahead and invest in, this type of thing. One of the things that my husband and I did over the summer is we looked at how much money we were spending, and we were like going out to eat, and we're like, let's go invest this money and buying ourselves a grill that we want, and like updating our backyard so that we can spend that time in the backyard. He loves to grill. And we can like do a family, or, some type of togetherness that way. And, it's just like a little simple thing. Like, you just look at that, and it's like, you can make things possible. You just got to look at how you're spending your money. And I think that that's important.
I agree. That's actually what I love about your podcast, Angelina, because you really, are, you have such a diverse panel of guests, and they all are basically offering really valuable information on how to, it's like you're refining yourself. You're constantly, it's like the whole goal of this podcast, I can tell, is growth, right? Learning, and being able to just keep moving forward. Like, wherever your point is, go to the next one, go to the next step. So, but yeah, I'm like, I just love what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I actually love what you do too. I think it's important. And I wanted to talk a little bit, because you've talked about family first aid. And for somebody who doesn't really know what that's about, like maybe my listeners are out there and they're like, what is family first aid? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So family first aid is, a lot of times families, when they are dealing with major, it's different if, let's say, there's a toxic situation going on. That's totally different. If they're dealing with substance use, if they're dealing with domestic violence, that is not what I'm talking about here. That they need to seek professional help for that. And if they did come to me, of course, I wouldn't turn them away, but I would gear them toward, because these are very specific and dangerous, situations. So, but with family first aid, what I'm talking about is, you're a family that is still dealing with a lot of anger, pain, resentment, and it may not even have been from your generational time. It's stuff that has happened, prior, it's been carried on. But a lot of times families, when they have this unresolved pain or resentment, it causes such a disruption in the home. It's like they don't have peace. There's definitely no connection or bonding. Everyone's just kind of living separate. And even when they do get together, the interactions are, they're sometimes just very disrespectful, toward each other. And so it just creates an atmosphere that you're just not happy. The teenage kids really don't want to be home. Mom and dad, they don't even seem like they're in love anymore. And so, and it could be as extreme too. Family first aid can also cover, let's say you're getting together for holidays, and it's like nobody really wants to talk about the pink elephant in the room. Like they just want to, just kind of keep everything superficial, superficial conversation, just get through it. But there's usually someone in the family, usually, that knows doesn't feel right. Like, is this how all families are? Now, granted, every family has some kind of cuckoo-ness in them, right? It's like there's no perfect family, but there, again, when you're talking about, little cancerous things that are in the family that are preventing that family to really bond the way it should, and then it just gets ignored. It's those teenage kids are going to grow up, get married, and probably think that's just how it is. This is just how home life is. So family first aid, again, it could be, what I do is I meet again with the family. I can meet up to four family members. I mean, if there's more, that's fine, we'll accommodate. But for an hour and a half to 2 hours, I meet with them and I really hear what is going on within the family dynamic. And then once we identify, like, what are some immediate problems that are, preventing the family from communicating healthy, because that's usually the number one thing. I've heard you say this too on other podcasts, how critical communication is. It's like sometimes the family simply can't even get past this troubling time because they can't even communicate. They have no clue how to do active listening, how to reframe things, how to, it's none of that is taught in school. And so that is something that usually I begin with. It's just, teaching the family how to have some healthy communication, setting some boundaries. We throw that word around a lot, but it's really helpful because, again, it's like keeping boundaries simple with communication allows the communication to begin. And sometimes when you have like a facilitator like me, right, a referee, if you want to call it, whatever, just someone else there kind of guiding the family, I set ground rules, no yelling, no cussing. The goal of the family first aid meeting is that after the meeting, the goal is to feel better, not worse. It's like, so again, again, having a facilitator, control that family conversation is very helpful because then it allows the family to actually make some progress. Like, wow, I didn't know you thought that, or I didn't know you looked at it that way, but when communication is broken down, they can't even see each other's perspectives. So, so I call it family first aid. But it can, it can cover a variety of things, but mainly the goal is to really get that family in a room, feeling safe and being able to communicate and learning how to communicate, and then tackling down, identifying what are the real issues going on here and then tackling those.
I think that's so important. I think that's much needed. And I think that I just love what you're doing because there's so many people out there who could be listening today and like, hey, we're in this stage right now when we really need this service. And I tell those people, if it's something that you feel, this is like you're relating to this, then you need to make sure that you contact LC because she can help you. And I say to contact her now because the longer that you wait, the worse it can get. And you don't want to have years of wasted time because you didn't work together as a family to heal the things that could be healed.
Absolutely. And, holidays are oftentimes very troubling for families, who are struggling. And so, Mother's Day is coming around, Father's Day. And that causes, there's nothing worse than having like anxiety about an upcoming, gathering because, are the kids even going to call? There's a lot of pain that goes in when the adult kids don't, want anything to do with you or limited conversation. So again, you're right. It's like, I don't want to sound like a commercial, but you need to be able to invest in your relationships. You need to be intentional about identifying what's really going on here. And if you can identify them because you're like, I really don't know, then reach out to someone, like someone like myself who has experience, who has a passion for relationships, who wants to help your family, because ultimately helping that family, this is how I think, helps their future generations, and so it's not just like, oh, okay, let's help you today. It's like, no, helping you today means that your next generation of your, whether it's your grandkids, they're going to benefit from this, because they're going to have healthier, you're going to be able to role model for them the healthy, right, dynamic that a family should be. And I mean, everyone knows the number one, influencer on any child is the family. Those are the first people that they're going to look at for role modeling.
I think that's so important. And as you're saying that, I had a visualization. I visualized. So when I was about 5, I think it was 4 or 5, I got to watch my mom graduate from college. She graduated from Cal State San Bernardino, but I got to see her watch her graduate, and I remember her walking on the stage, and I remember us taking the pictures with her, and I remember what we ate, and like that was one of my first memories, like detailed memories of how we stood, and just what we ate that day for dinner, and just she had at that time had 5 kids, and it's you talk about the modeling, like my mom has, every single one of her children has went to college and gotten some type of degree, and she is the one of, a family of 7. She's the only one that got a degree. And it's that modeling behavior. And I remember the night staying up and her typing on the typewriter and, doing all the things. And she would keep us busy because, we didn't have cable. We didn't have lots of things like that. So she would give us an encyclopedia and we'd have to like look up a state and like figure out the state flag and all of those stuff like that, because she was modeling the behavior of like, I'm studying, so therefore you need to study. And it really helped a lot of us, become very successful because we got that education. We got that because she modeled that behavior. Right. And so it was just a visualization. I just saw my mom graduating from college again when you were saying that. And it's just that behavior. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think, as parents, we underestimate what our children are looking at us. Even no matter how old they are, not just when they're little, they're still looking, they're still watching. So that's so beautiful. How old were you again
I was 5 years old?
Oh yeah. And and because of that, you value, right? That was something you valued, education. And education doesn't have to come necessarily like from going to college, right? But you still valued that idea of, again, self-growth and that's awesome. Aww.
Yeah, like that personal development, which is I'm so passionate about, is like you got to develop yourself, and like even for my children, some of them have went, one of them went to college and they both went to college, but one of them is more of a hands-on STEM type of person. And so so you just honor them where they're at and let them grow where they're at. But just instilling them is like, whatever you do, I'm going to support you, and go out there and achieve the goals that you have for yourself. I think is important. But it's again, because I think it's just the way that we see that if you want something out there, if you want something for yourself, you need to go out there and do it. And that's the kind of behavior that like my mom modeled to us. If you want it, go get it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's easier said than done, but
it is.
because we have a lot of chains holding us down. And by the way, you kind of look too young to have kids in college, but good for you. But because see, Angelina, like you're a go-getter, right? There's that you have that in you. Some might say, oh, okay, LC, you have it too, right? Here you are trying to do this. But there's a lot of people out there who they can't relate to this, but it's not because they don't have it in them. It's because they have weights pulling them down. And those weights are usually in forms of relationships. And it can even be the relationship with themselves, how they see themselves. So, I mean, everyone has that ability. It's just that you kind of have to, really do that internal work. Like you said, self-growth, self-discovery. I mean, it sounds kind of, okay, because we live in we live in an age where there's endless resources, right? Books, podcasts, YouTube videos, right, on this very topic of relationships, life coaching. There's plenty of information, but to that one person who doesn't even know where to start, it's like all you have to do is just take that one step. You don't have to know the whole picture yet. Just know, okay, I need to work on this. How do I get to that next step? And it's being intentional. So
yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important. And I love how you said about even your relationship with yourself. One of the things that I've talked about, and I'm not sure if I've shared it on the podcast, maybe I haven't, but when you want, like, and especially with a relationship, if you want people to love you and treat you with respect and things like that, how do you treating yourself, right? If you can't even look at yourself in the mirror and love who you see in the mirror, then how do you expect others to love you? You have to love yourself, and it's not selfish, but you have to make sure that you're showing up for yourself, that you're loving yourself, that you're treating your body with respect, that you're moving your body and doing all the things, because if you want people to make time for you, you have to also make time for yourself. I think that's so important.
No, I agree. We hear the word self-care a lot. It's self-care. But we hear it a lot for a reason, because it is important, and if you're someone who, again, if you're putting yourself last, you know where that will end. It's like you're gonna just burn out, you're gonna drain yourself, and you're no good to anyone. And so, but you're absolutely right. And so it's funny because this kind of goes back to what we mentioned about where you invest your money. Like, there's so many people who invest their money. Okay, let's say you are going to the gym and working out. Let's say you actually are blessed and can afford a facial once a month or every other month, or you do your nails or pedicure, whatever. I'm doing self-care, but you're neglecting your relationships. And that is the inner stuff that really, like, if you're struggling with your relationship, let's say with your kids or with your significant other, or, even with yourself, because a lot of times you already know, it's like someone can look so drop dead gorgeous, but inside be so insecure, and so the exterior, we're limited in what to really know what's going on. And so, but you're right. It's like taking care of yourself is so important. And I do view this type of work, like I've been in, I'm not a therapist. I want to disclaim that, but I have been in therapy for many years, and I learned, and this was because of the stuff I had gone through, right, as a child, with my dad, being struggling with alcoholism, the way that we grew up, a lot of abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, seeing just growing up the way that a child shouldn't grow up. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, sad me, but that messed with me. That really affected me as a young girl. And then it affected me on my relationship with guys, and so on. So therapy for me, again, I think I first started maybe at 34 years old. When I started, I saw the value in investing in myself. Who I was at 34 is a completely different woman than who I am today. But had I not invested in myself in that way, if I would have just focused on, oh, okay, I just got to look good, let me just work out, and if I would have ignored that inner girl and not grown, then I wouldn't be where I am today, being able to. So you're right. It's so important, very important.
Yeah, I love everything that you're saying, and I think so many people can relate to that. And one of the things I wanted to do is ask, again, if people wanted to work with you, what is the best way that they can reach out to you? What's the best way that they can contact you?
The best way is to just go to my website. It's lcpetersonconnect.com. That is the best way, because I've got my social media stuff on there too. So LC is LC, and then petersonconnect.com. That's where they can find more information on me. They can book a free phone consultation. They can book one-on-one sessions. I've got all the prices on there. And again, people will be surprised how, just how affordable it can be to invest in your relationships. Doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I thank you for sharing that. And I will definitely have the links too. If you're driving and you can't listen to that right now, just pinpoint this call this time right now on the podcast, because the links will be in the show notes as well. And so, but definitely think about what we've been talking about and how important it is. And so again, it's lcpetersonconnect.com. And again, it'll be in the show notes as well. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you as we wrap up is I always ask all my guests this. What is a word, a phrase, a book to read, or some type of action, anything that they can do today in order for them to help them refine and shine?
I'm going to share one of my favorite quotes by Booker T. Washington. It actually kind of, the theme kind of matches with what you do, because a refiner, right, is removing like impurities or unwanted stuff, right? So the quote that I love is, success is not measured by one's position or what you have in life, but by the obstacles that you've overcome or how far you've come. I've always liked that quote. I kind of gave it my own tweak, but it's one of my favorite because, again, I think we live in a time where success is measured a lot of times by, the house, the car, how you look, that kind of thing. And I'm a big believer. I love Booker T. Washington's quote because success is really measured on how far you've come. Like wherever you were, have you made progress? And so that's what I'm going to leave people with. That quote that I live by.
I think that's so important. And I think, and I love how you said it. You talked a little bit about it earlier too, as well, is that we always want to like carry up and like go from this to that and like not think about all the steps to take to get you to where you need to be. And it's one of the things I talk about a lot is like on my Shine principles, my E is every day celebrate those wins. Like every day think about what you have accomplished. Because we always want to we can't just run a marathon and not train for it. Like we need to celebrate every mile, every journey that we're taking because it's so important. And sometimes we may not be able to finish. And so but you've went and stepped forward. I had a friend who talked about she was going through a weight loss journey and she was celebrate every time she could just make it to the next mailbox. Every time, the next mailbox. And I think that's so important is that we just got to go out there and refine ourselves and move those impurities, move the things that are hurting us and just reflect on ourselves and just celebrate that we're moving forward.
Yes, I love that. It is. It's true.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being an amazing guest.
Thank you so much, Angelina, for the work you're doing. And I really want to wish you just even more success on this podcast and all of your other ventures, because you really are a special lady. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.